Good morning, everybody. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us on this Tuesday morning. We have a lot of fun conversations to get through over the next hour. Before we do that, a little bit of welcome, a little bit of making sure that everybody has arrived into the meeting that they are planning on attending. While everybody is getting settled, a few reminders. Fen culture exists in the chat of all of our meetings. Please introduce yourself in the chat. Add your name, pronouns, organization. If you're brave, your email. Please use reactions. Please add emojis to the chat. We hope that it is an engaging space as well as a place to add questions. We do have time scheduled at the end of today's conversation for questions, but don't keep them to yourself until then. Please put them in the chat, and if we find an answer early, wonderful. If we use them to streamline our Q&A at the end, then even better. I want to make sure that everybody is here on what happens on the call. We are going to dive into the homeownership and foreclosure support system here in Washington and learn some wonderful behind-the-scenes pieces of both the Washington Homeownership Resource Center and Parkview Services. And to make the most of our time together, I want to offer a few pieces. Here in Zoom, the captions should be enabled. Zoom has had a few anger pieces with me, so if there are any challenges, please let us know. But captions should be enabled. You have some control over that, and please engage with the accessibility features on Zoom as best you need to. For folks who haven't met us yet, hi. I'm Ryan Davis. I'm the Director of Community Impact with the Financial Empowerment Network. We are connectors. We are equippers. We serve as the space where advocates and providers can meet together to advance financial thriving across Washington. Together, both here in this room and beyond, we are creating a Washington where financial justice is fully practiced and communities have the power, resources, and relationships needed to build generational pathways to financial thriving. Please check out all of the things that Fen does on our website, fenwa.org. But because we are large and varied, I wanted to give everybody a little bit of a sneak peek. We are here in a Bank on Washington meeting, which is very similar to our workshops and also an introduction to our annual forum, which will be coming up here later this year. We are so excited to share all of these spaces with you, and this being a Bank on Washington space, we do ask a lot of systems level questions, and our homeownership friends are absolutely in the right space for this. Next on your calendar, I wanted to get everybody's eyes looking into July 15th, in person in Tequila. We will be hosting Consumer Action. Just say no to scams, a full day of learning. It should be a lot of fun. July 15th. Registration for that should be going in the chat. Thank you, Jennifer, for filling in and making sure that the chat is moving forward. And I mentioned it, and I'm going to give everybody a chance to open up our forum FAQ, frequently asked questions, for this year's Bank on Washington annual forum, Bridges Beyond Barriers, a Bank on Washington Economic Forum, September 2nd and 3rd at UW-Tacoma. Our frequently asked questions page is live. Our agenda is being built. It is a working agenda, but it is being filled out with details, and registration is now open. So as folks are planning your September, please take a minute and review both the frequently asked questions, and we invite folks to join us in registering. And lastly, last piece of context, I want to thank WaFd Bank. Many of these conversations are require some level of support, and we thank WaFd Bank for being a friend and a collaborator when building strong learnings. Okay, before I pass things over to Elizabeth and dive into our great learnings, I do want to share some community agreements with us here today. in addition to the wonderful humans that we know that you are, we invite everybody to engage with respect and humanity. Take that to its fullest extreme as we communicate with and collaborate with one another. Hateful, discriminatory, or harmful language will not be tolerated. Whenever possible, we use I statements and avoid generalizations whenever possible, or back up data with sources. And then we know that impact does not always equal intent, and so being aware of the differences between those two things is also a good piece to keep in mind as we are engaging fruitfully in these conversations. And I mentioned Jennifer. Jennifer's in the room as well as myself. If for whatever reason the conversation is moving in a space that we need to intervene, we reserve that right, and we will remove participants to maintain safety of this conversation. We don't expect that to be a problem, but we want to say that out loud up top. Okay, that's not our presenters. Learn more at fenwa.org, and I'm going to quickly stop sharing my screen so that I can transition into our wonderful presentation. While I'm doing that, I'm going to spotlight Elizabeth Perez because I believe you were talking first.
Thanks, Ryan.
Everything moved. Everything moved. Where is my share screen? There we go. This is terrible. Give me 30 seconds, everybody. I apologize. This should be somewhere else. Why is it as it is?
Ryan has both the joy and the challenge of a new device.
Thank you, everybody,
and everything moving around.
I am being very frustrated here. We are going to share screen here, and we are going to do our best to bring this. Okay, here we go.
It's thinking.
It's working on it from beginning. Now the problem is display settings. There we go. We figured it out.
You did it. Awesome. Can everyone hear me okay?
Everybody.
Yes. All right. All right. I have had some internet woes building. So if I lose you, I may either come back off camera or move, but I will be back if I get booted off. So welcome everybody to what happens on the call inside Washington's homeownership and foreclosure support system. And thank you so much, Ryan and Jennifer and Fen team, for this opportunity to share with you all today. So my name's Elizabeth Perez. I know some of you, but not all of you. I'm the executive director at the Washington Homeownership Resource Center. And I'm excited to talk with you today about not just WHRC, but what we do as part of I think Washington's best kept secret, hopefully not a secret any longer. We're really trying to do more outreach. But in terms of the wonderful, robust homeownership and foreclosure prevention services that all Washingtonians have access to. So a little bit about me. As I mentioned, I'm the ED over at WHRC. I live in Pullman, go Cougs. We are a mostly remote, but really kind of work as a satellite or a constellation, right, across Washington State. So our home office is in Seattle. We've got folks from West Side to East Side on our small but mighty team, making sure that we're in communities across the state. I began my career as an educator and higher education administrator, which means I'm a nerd. And what I love about my work in homeownership is I get to combine that nerdiness with something that I'm really passionate about and have always been personally, which is financial wellness and empowerment and being able to help people attain and retain homeownership. Next slide. So with me today are my colleagues, Lacey Martinez and Loretta Kale. Lacey is one of our information and referral specialists. So she actually helps staff the statewide homeownership and foreclosure prevention hotline, which you'll hear more about. And Lacey has a deep background in property management, manufactured home communities, has a passion for home repair and helping folks to sustain homeownership and housing in general. And we love having her on our team. She lives in Spokane County. Next slide. And the fabulous Loretta Kale doesn't need an introduction because she is so fabulous, but I'm going to give her one anyway. She is the Homeownership Program Director at Parkview Services, which, along with WTRC, we're both nonprofits, is a nonprofit organization that provides affordable housing and homeownership solutions in Washington State. So they are statewide, like we are. And Loretta has been involved in home ownership things for over 40 years and has worked as a housing counselor and administrator since 2011. She is also based in Spokane County, but again, the work that we do is statewide. And we're really excited to be able to work with her and gain insights from her today. Next slide. All right. So a little bit about WTRC. We have a short video that we're going to play for you that we use for outreach, kind of like a commercial, right? That just helps people know what we do, what we offer, and then I'll provide some additional context for you as partners after. Thanks, Ryan.
All right. If the sound doesn't work, let me know. It should be ready to go.
Buying a home is one of life's biggest
Maybe a little
milestones.
more.
It's where memories are made and futures are built. But challenges can come up along the way. Maybe you've fallen behind on your mortgage, property taxes, or HOA dues. Maybe you're getting ready to buy your first home and don't know where to start. Or maybe you just need clear, trustworthy information about programs that make home ownership easier. That's where the Washington Homeownership Resource Center comes in. For over 30 years, we've been Washington State's official home ownership hub. We've helped hundreds of thousands of people through the ups and downs of owning a home. Our job is simple. We connect you with free, trusted resources so you can buy, maintain, and keep your home. If you're facing foreclosure, we'll connect you with certified home ownership counselors or legal aid providers. They'll explain your rights and options and help you take steps to stay in your home. If you're preparing to buy, we'll help you access home buyer education classes, down payment assistance programs, and personalized financial counseling so you can move forward with confidence. And if you're looking to maintain your home, we'll connect you with vetted resources for repairs, accessibility modifications, or weatherization. At WHRC, we believe everyone deserves a safe, stable place to call home. Our services are free, confidential, and available statewide. Whether you're buying your first home, working to keep the one you have, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Call us at 877-894-4663 or visit homeownership-wa.org. Washington Home Ownership Resource Center, empowering every step of your home ownership journey.
Thanks, Ryan. I don't know if it was before or after this, but there was a mission slide. Oh, there we go. Perfect. If anyone had any trouble with the volume, I know there were some technical difficulties there. That video is just on our homepage, and I share that with you because we also have one in Spanish. So if you are after this, looking to spread the word or share information with customers or clients, you can find those on our homepage at homeownership-wa.org. And we'll share some links throughout the presentation as well. Oh, thanks, Jennifer. All right. So as I mentioned before, we are a 501c3 organization. We've been around for over 30 years. Our mission is to increase and preserve homeownership in Washington State by serving as a hub for education, resources, and partnerships. So the idea is that Washingtonians statewide if they're looking to achieve, sustain, retain homeownership, cross their various, parts of their journey that they might be on, that there's a centralized starting point to be able to access vetted, helpful information and resources. And we're excited to dig in today with what that looks like. Next slide. So since 1995, we've offered the state's official foreclosure prevention and homeownership hotline. We have a resource website that continues to grow in terms of various resources and tools available for folks. And of course, our statewide outreach. We provide Washingtonians together with our big network with personalized information and then the referral to those partners to vetted homeownership supports. And these are just some of the most common ones, but we do get quite a gamut of different inquiries and, needs for help. So certainly homebuyer assistance programs. We'll talk more about pre-purchase education and counseling opportunities for folks in Washington. But we offer that as well throughout our state. Folks call us and we connect them to mortgage, HOA, and property tax foreclosure intervention counseling and supports. Reverse mortgage, we do get a lot of questions about that. So we're able to connect folks to information and counseling there. Owner-occupied repair assistance, especially as our housing stock ages and also as we age and maybe need to, modify our homes to age in place or, live with a disability. Post-purchase education and tools. I'm excited to talk more about what that looks like later. Legal aid services. A lot of folks don't know that we do connect folks to housing counseling agencies and others that provide credit, student loan, and financial counseling, but that is available as well. And then, of course, fraud and scam prevention and intervention, especially right now as we see a lot of pressure on households around affordability. We're also seeing a lot more scams. So I'm glad to see that FEN is doing some outreach on that as well. Next slide. So, and then I also just want to mention briefly that we do work closely with, government officials, agencies, with lenders, with real estate folks, with, all kinds of community organizations and individuals to do advocacy, to really engage in trying to shape policies that will help increase and preserve homeownership throughout our state. So if advocacy is of interest, please reach out. We'd be happy to share more with you what we do and see how we can partner. Thanks. Thank you. So wanted to provide just a few numbers for you, in terms of who we serve. First of all, in 2025 alone, just on our hotline. So this did not count our homeownership fairs or workshops, virtual and in person. Didn't account for any tabling events or things like that. Just our hotline alone, we served over 10,000 unique clients and from all 39 counties. So that's pretty substantial, and we're pacing to beat that in 2026 as we see increased need. The top reasons that people reach out to WHRC for support are mortgage default, home purchase information. These are in order, by the way, of sort of like most common. Mortgage default, home purchase, property tax concerns, which can run the gamut of I'm not behind, but I'm confused about my property tax, obligations, right? Help me out. Or I have questions about the exemption program. Can someone help me apply? Or I'm facing foreclosure, kind of all of the gamut around property tax. We hear those. Home repair needs, and then HOA issues, which we'll talk more about shortly, but that can range from, special assessment concerns, like, hey, my HOA is charging me, a hefty amount of money because they're saying repairs are needed in the community and I can't afford that, or, my HOA is threatening foreclosure. What can I do? And Washingtonians do have rates and resources that may be available to them, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Our most requested languages besides English are as follows: Spanish, Mandarin, Russian, Amharic, and Korean. And those were in 2025, but they're pretty consistent. I would say Vietnamese is sometimes in there as a top 5 as well. And then just last year alone, we engaged with over 220 referral organizations that we have vetted and that we, recommended to folks for services of various kinds, including 8, which includes Parkview services, for foreclosure prevention and what we call an on-call system. So where we actually have devoted housing counselors and legal aid providers across these 8 agencies who are able to help folks facing foreclosure issues, which are, of course, very time sensitive. So next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about foreclosure fairness in Washington. For those who don't know, Washington is like kind of awesome. We're very awesome. And we do have some robust legal protections and resources for Washingtonians who may be facing foreclosure. So under the Washington Foreclosure Fairness Act and related legislation, there is outreach that happens that we conduct as well as several partners to make sure that folks throughout our state know that they have rights and that there maybe help available to them if they fall behind on their mortgage, HOA, or property taxes. So we conduct outreach. There's the statewide hotline, which WHRC staffs, so that folks can receive safe, vetted, helpful, non-scammy information because foreclosure, that's a highly emotional, fraught situation, right? Like people don't just choose to like stop paying their bills. There are serious calamities that can happen in a household that can precipitate that financial struggle, as we'll hear about more from Lacey and Loretta in a bit. So we want to make sure that there is a network where folks can reach out, call one number, get vetted, helpful information, and get started on their journey to receive assistance. We do provide as a state for HUD-certified homeownership counselors, which Loretta will talk about shortly, legal aid services. There are rights to request to meet and confer with a mortgage servicer or HOA, as well as to request mediation. So there are things in place that can help buy somebody time or help them to be able to work with their servicer. So I don't want to steal their thunder, but Loretta and Lacey are going to dig into that a little bit more shortly. And then property tax foreclosure prevention assistance. It's not expressly in the foreclosure fairness laws. However, there are some laws on the books that, for instance, require all 39 counties to provide lists of homeowners facing tax delinquency 2 years plus to WHRC so we can conduct outreach. And then we're able to, as folks get a hold of us, connect them to housing counselors and others who may be able to provide assistance. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So I talked a little bit about foreclosure prevention, and we'll talk more about that and what that call or what that help looks like in a moment. I also want to mention, because we'll be talking about it in our short panel discussion, we do have home buyer resources available to Washingtonians as well. So that can look like calling the hotline, maybe getting quick information or getting connected to, a housing counselor or someone who can help one-on-one. Workshops and group sessions. There's so many different amazing opportunities available. There are pathways to homeownership workshops that we host at WHRC in English and Spanish throughout each month. Those are free. And that helps people with just sort of a quick sort of, entry point, they get kind of a taste of what is available in Washington, what the steps are to achieving homeownership, with the next step being to do kind of the more robust homebuyer education class, which is sponsored by and organized by the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. That one's a longer class, but is required if someone is interested in state-funded down payment assistance. Many of those programs require that. Home buyers in the state of Washington can make use of some really awesome additional sort of one-on-one resources like homeownership counselors, which really can help steward them throughout their journey to getting those keys, which we'll talk about in a bit. There's just a multitude of different, workshops and opportunities for home buyers to learn about budgeting, credit, down payment assistance, debt reduction programs when those exist, affordable home ownership units that may come available in their communities. So it really helps to get connected with this network so that folks don't lose out on potential opportunities. We're usually the first to hear about them, right? In terms of the WHRC and Housing Counseling Network. So working with a housing counselor can be super helpful. Next slide. So some ways to partner with us and with our network. Number one, give to WHRC, give to Parkview. We are nonprofits and we rely on the generosity of our communities. Also partner and sponsor, around homeownership programming and events. We have seen so much amazing positive energy around our effort to be what we call closer to home this year, really making sure that we are in communities offering, multilingual, multimodal programming. So that looks like, home ownership fairs, workshops. I'll be at our farmers market here in Pullman next month. Just making sure that people have increased access to information, opportunities. Through the support of our partners, we've been able to increase radio ads, digital programming, etc. So partner with us on those so that people are aware of available resources. I'm sure you're going to hear from Lacey and Loretta momentarily about the positive impact that their work has. But what I will tell you is the worst part of the job is, and I love my job, but the hardest, worst part is when I'm just out in my community, living my life, out with my kiddos, and people ask what you do for a living, and I tell them, and they're like, oh, I wish I had known about you a few years ago, but I lost my home to foreclosure. Or, man, I wish I had known about you last month. I felt pressured into buying a house that I actually really don't like, and now I feel stuck. Or, other things that can happen because they didn't have that guidance that housing counseling can provide. Other things that you can do, share updates, advocate with us. We will talk a little bit more about estate planning in a little bit, but we're seeing a huge increase in interest around estate planning. Loretta, I know you may have some resources to share on that, that Parkview and American Financial Solutions and others are doing, but we need folks' support to spread the word and also to continue to meet the demand for information and help around estate planning and heirs property. And then we have a wish list item just for, folks working in the real estate space. We'd love to partner with folks on, hey, wouldn't it be amazing if every new, especially first time homeowner received a user manual for their home? So that's kind of something we're thinking through right now. But if that's something that would be of interest to you in your region, let's talk about piloting a program where a new homeowner actually has concrete, a tangible guide for their home that can help them to make best use of it and maintain it. We know that the home inspection can function similarly to that. We'd like to take that up a notch and make sure that we're providing good, solid post-purchase support. And lastly, before we transition to our panel, I just want to make sure that folks know we're on the same team. We're going to talk about that a little bit more with Loretta and Lacey, but we're not here as either adversaries or competitors to lenders, realtors, or others. We're here as part of that homeownership team. So excited to talk to you about how that works. Next slide. All right. So I'm going to put Lacey and Loretta on the hot seat here. We have some superstars in our network. We have just a couple here to talk with you today. And I've got some questions I've put together for them because the title of our presentation was, what happens on the call? Let's dig a little deeper. So I've given you an overview. I want to dig a little deeper with Lacey and Loretta and find out what that help actually looks like when somebody reaches out to us for assistance. So the first thing I want to do is, just be honest, many people who are, either watching this live or will be viewing the recording, they may have heard about housing counseling, but they might not fully understand how it fits into the homeownership ecosystem. So for each of you, we'll go Lacey and then Loretta. How do your roles support home buyers and homeowners? And how do you see that they complement the work of lenders, real estate professionals, and others?
I'll go first. I would say that there's no reason for anybody to be doing anything alone. And to me, the hotline and the housing counseling, I'm never gonna get tired of saying this. It's always gonna give you that partnership. Because I myself bought a home last year, and I wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't because of our queue services. They were there the whole way through. Whenever I had questions, And yes, my lender was there. He was amazing. He was there at, oh, there was one time that we gave him a call at 10 p.m. because we had like an anxiety attack where we were like so worried, like, oh, what if inspection, what if inspection, something bad happens in the inspection? What if something comes up in our credit or something, last minute? We were so panicking. And yes, he was amazing because he was there at 10 p.m. one night. But at the same time, I also had Lindsay available to give me, be there for any of the extra questions because there's as you don't want to bug your lender too much too. So, um, any questions that I had, Lindsay was always there. Same thing. Now that I am a homeowner, I know that I can count on Parkview services, all things home, if I have any issues with making my payment. Um, and sadly, things happen every day. Things that are out of your control, things happen, where you might need them, and I know that they're gonna be there. Like I can call them anytime. Um, so I just wanted to say that us as a team with the hotline and the housing counseling, we just built up, a partnership with the callers because there's no reason to do anything alone, either risking losing your home or buying a home. It's just a partnership. And kudos to us because we do so much for our callers.
Thank you so much. That true story, as I mentioned. No, I didn't give her any she's not getting any bonus for saying that. But it is actually true that we've had multiple employees on our team really just like benefit from the very things that we do recommend to others. So that is something that we see a lot. Loretta.
I think one of the most important things that we do is we provide connection. So we're going to, within the housing counseling network, we're going to be talking about things that maybe the lender and the realtor isn't really their role. And so we may be able, because we establish trust with the client, with the buyer, and the homeowner, that we're going to be able to have honest conversations and connect resources. Just like Lacey was talking about being able to get a hold of somebody at 10 o'clock at night. That won't be the housing counselor, but there are a lot of times when the lenders and realtors are busy working on the aspects of the financing that they need to do. And they ask for more documentation or they don't understand something in the home inspection. It's another place to go to get an answer. And maybe sometimes you have to ask the same question several times. And so having an extra party within that transaction that can answer that question, it just provides clarity. And like Lacey was saying, it takes away the fear of, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be asking all these questions. I know how busy they are. That's what the role that a housing counselor can fill, is that there is no question that we're not going to be able to answer for you. The majority of the counselors within our network have been in this industry for a very long time. And some of them come to us at the end of their career because they want to give back and they want to support first-time homeownership and sustaining homeownership. And the work that we do is one way that they're able to contribute. So the people that your clients will be talking to have so much experience in this area, and there isn't any question that we're not going to be able to answer. And so I just think trust and connection. And as far as the lenders and realtors, having a client create a referral back to them is the best way to say thank you. You did a great job. And I think that's one way that we support everybody in this, is that is the goal. The goal is we want the lenders and realtors to continue to do this work. They wouldn't be doing this if they didn't care. And so we want everyone to know that we love working together as a team, and we want you to get referral business because you did the right thing and made sure that that client had all of these resources.
Thank you so much, Lacey and Loretta. So, Lacey, a couple questions for you. So, can you sort of walk us through what, and I know it's going to be hard to encapsulate all the questions because you do get a pretty big variety, but in terms of what's trending, who's contacting the hotline today? Like what are some typical calls that are standing out to you or that are trending topics? What are the most common situations that folks should know you're hearing about?
Um, I would say it's 50-50. I always have that, that 50% chance that it's gonna be a sad one where someone barely lost, their 50 plus um long marriage partner, and they weren't the ones taking care of financial um bills in their home. We always get those. We also get the ones where, it wasn't planned. Some factory closed, or something union is going through some strike, or something unplanned. It's always something sadly unplanned. Someone got laid off. Um, so there's always that 50% chance that's gonna be one of those calls. And then the other 50, it's amazing, excited person dreaming of buying a home. They're happy. They, they're planning for down payment. They maybe have a little bit of savings. Maybe they don't have any savings, but they have been working on their credit, or they need some help with their credit. But they are very, very excited to go to the next step of homeownership. They want to build generational wealth. Um, and both of the calls to me, make a big impact because I want people to save their home and I want them to buy a home. But with the hotline, you never know. Um, and um, I would say the housing counseling will do good with any of those two calls.
Thank you. So let's imagine in one of those scenarios, somebody calls and you answer, Lacey. What does that call look like on your end, before you're making a referral, let's say, to a housing counselor at Parkview Services? What can someone expect when they call the hotline?
Empathy, and if they're going through a difficult time, empathy, and empathy too if they're barely starting their journey on buying a home. We don't judge. It's a no judge zone because, even if their credit is the worst credit that you can think of, we have a hope that everybody one day will be able to buy a home. So it's a no judge zone. If, they got laid off, it's a lot of empathy. If they lost a loved one, a lot of empathy. We try to get as much information we can possibly get. Um, so the housing counselors can have that information and start the case or their file um, with as much information as they possibly can. We don't want the client to come to us and then have to give all the information again to the housing counselor. So we're kind of like the uh, front line. Most likely, we might get the most emotions because most likely once they go to the housing counseling, they had a chance to kind of speak out, cry, laugh, and then with a lot of empathy, we kind of also let them know what to expect. Um, we try to explain the role of the housing counselor as best as we can, so that way they can kind of know what to expect next. But I would say the hotline, it's just filled with empathy for any sort of call.
I'm so glad you mentioned that empathy. I know because I work here, but we're the team as well as the housing counselors. They all have really extensive training at the start, but also ongoing throughout their careers, right? So part of that is making sure that everyone is trauma informed and that they really are approaching every situation with empathy and not judging somebody for whatever may have, precipitated the call, right? So that's huge. I would love to ask you, I'm going to start with Loretta on this one. Um, a common thing that I hear from especially folks in the private sector who do a lot of really great financial education, right? So folks in the lending space, home lending space, folks in the realty space, Loretta, commonly they might say, well, I think that's great what you all do, but my clients don't need housing counseling because they have me and I already provide helpful information and education. So what would be your response to that, Loretta, if someone's like, well, my client doesn't need that?
There would be several responses. One would be, that's fabulous that you provide that information. That is the kind of support your client needs. But how do you support more clients if you're spending all of your time helping one? And so again, we act as a connection. Because you can doesn't mean that's the highest and best use of your resources. We work with lenders that have been in the industry for 30, 40 years, and that work specifically with first-time homebuyers that will refer a client for homeownership counseling because they know we're going to be able to give them all of the education they need and return that client to the lender and the realtor fully informed. So it isn't that we're taking away what you do, we're enhancing your ability to better serve your clientele. I mean, we have lenders and realtors that are working on 20 to 40 transactions at a time. And there isn't any way possible that they're going to be able to offer all of the support needed for somebody that's just beginning their homeownership journey. And so knowing there's a place, there's a phone call, there's an email that is all it takes. And they know that client is going to be in great hands. We're going to immediately connect with them. We're going to figure out where they are in the process. What do we need to move them forward? And we're going to be there at every step of the transaction. So where they've got the home inspection, the lender really doesn't see the home inspection. It really isn't a part of that process where we're going to go through that with a prospective home buyer in detail. So we can create a savings plan. If you've got a roof that needs to be replaced in 3 years, we're going to help you understand your budget management and you'll be ready for that. There are just different things that we do within the housing counseling network that a lender and a realtor, again, they need to spend their time working with underwriting and with closing and all of the other things that are necessary to complete a transaction. So I think that it's a gift personally. Some people think the word counseling is punitive, and I get that, but it's not like you're being sent to the principal's office. It means that your lender and your realtor care enough about you knowing every step of the process and being the smartest person at the closing table. They care enough to include housing counseling as a part of your purchase process.
That is so helpful. I think those are really great insights, especially for folks who are wondering, oh, well, I've never worked with a housing counselor before. Do I need them? Does my client need them? So you're articulating some of that value add. I want to dig a little bit deeper, Loretta, and I want to ask, um, for two different scenarios, if you will. So, Lacey, earlier you brought up like someone who calls in and is facing foreclosure. Let's say it's mortgage default. And then you also brought up somebody who's maybe a first-time buyer. So, for those two scenarios, Loretta, if you can just briefly walk us through what does the actual like after WHRC has made the referral, let's say to Parkview, what does that initial counseling appointment or series look like for the foreclosure process? What might that look like? What tools may be available that the housing counselor can help them with? And then what does that look like when a housing counselor is working one-on-one with a home buyer?
So on the default space, this is some tough work. People don't sit around the kitchen table talking about, I haven't paid my mortgage in a couple of months, right? It's not something that comes up with family and friends. And so sometimes they're reaching out for the first time. They may not reach out again. If they're not connected, a warm handoff to a resource, they probably won't reach out again. And so having the hotline, answer the call, and not going to voicemail, answering the call, and then being able to make that connection to an on-call housing counselor. There are things when a home is in foreclosure, this is a non-judicial state. And I always used to say, whoever gets to the courthouse steps first wins. And it really can feel like that. And we know deadlines. We know what kind of notices you should have received or that you are receiving. And so the very first thing that we're going to do is, what notices have you received? What stage of default are you in? Because we can go to mediation. Within the homeownership network, only attorneys and housing counselors are allowed to make a referral for mediation, which stops the foreclosure process and gives the homeowner time to submit an application and perhaps get their loan modified, or give them time to get caught up, or maybe they need to transition. We understand all of those difficult conversations. And if we don't create a warm handoff, if we don't immediately talk with that homeowner in distress, again, we may lose them. And these are the homes that get lost to foreclosure, like you were saying, Elizabeth, where they never knew that we existed. And it still amazes me how long we've been doing this work, since 2011. And people still don't know that this exists. And without this opportunity under the Foreclosure Fairness Act, there would be so many more homes that are lost. The additions of adding HOA and COA this year has been huge. For first-time homebuyers, a lot of times condos are the only affordable option. And if their assessments go so high that their payments become unaffordable, they could lose their equity, they could lose their home. And being able to request mediation for those additional things has really been helpful. But the most important thing is that initial trust building and contact to find out what notices you've gotten, what your rights and responsibilities are, what type of loan you have, what your servicer's contact information is. Like, we're going to collect all of that first to make sure that if we need to stop a legal action, that we're going to do that immediately. And then we'll be able to gather all their financial information to submit whatever, we call it a waterfall, but whatever the best option for that homeowner would be. But again, Foreclosure Fairness Act has been a real driver in the work that we do in the state of Washington, because it gives us so many more options on how to best assist that family. You're not just losing a home. I mean, you're talking about kids in schools and churches and communities. So I think it matters that they are connected to a resource immediately, and that our housing counselors are so well trained in what options are available for them.
Thanks so much, Loretta, for walking us through that. Um, One thing I would love to hear, we'll start with Lacey, would be, we've talked a lot about kind of home buyer resources, foreclosure prevention resources. I mean, in theory, we could just like list all of the resources on a website, call it good, close up shop. What is the benefit of having a centralized hub? What is the benefit of having, like a hotline or a place where people can start on that home ownership journey, whether that's they're trying to become a homeowner, they need home repair, foreclosure prevention, all the things. What do you find is most helpful or impactful of having that model in Washington, where folks start with WHRC and then can be connected to resources like Parkview?
I would say our biggest enemy would be the unknown. Um, so if we provide a place where people can get information and not be lost and have the known, that would be the hotline. Um, because like you said before, before I started my journey of buying a home, I didn't know down payment programs existed. I thought I needed 20% down to save. I thought it was gonna take years for me to save all this money because I was gonna need like minimum 20% down. Um, if I wouldn't have known, I would have never become a home buyer because I would have just wasted my life, trying to save all this money. So the unknown is a big enemy, and um, the hotline provides that opportunity for someone to be able to give us a call, and we can explain all this stuff to them. Hey, you do not need 20% down. You don't need the best 800, 700 square credit score. You don't need to waste all these years, until you're like 50 to save, uh, you know, 20% down, because that's what I thought before. I was like, oh my God, it's gonna take me like decades to be able to save 20% down. Who knows when I'm gonna have like the 700 square credit score. I was that was my mentality, and I know so many people that think that way to the day, and I'm the one telling them no, and it's sad. I still get callers, they're like 70, 80 years old, and they haven't applied for the senior exemption, and they have like close to 20 years that they could have been, benefiting from it. And it's so sad. It makes me sad that they didn't know before. And I'm the one having to tell them, hey, like, have you considered applying for and it's just the fact that the unknown is a big enemy. And it's you can be afraid of the unknown. But we open the doors to knowledge, to information, to be able to give the people referrals. Same thing with home repairs. The only reason why I knew about home repairs was because of seeing communities needing home repairs. And one day I was like Googling, and I found like the Spokane Neighborhood Action Partners, and then I was able to kind of read more about it. But if it wasn't because of the need and me seeing like people with holes in their roofs and stuff, I would have never known. Um, and you know, it's just sad, but at the same time, um, the information that we're able to provide, it's very, very important. I believe that every state should have a hotline if they don't, because I have seen it firsthand, like the big differences that we have made with just sharing information to our callers.
Thank you so much, Lacey. I know that we're short on time, so I'm hoping that we can do just a brief answer to this next one, and then we'll do our wrap up. We have just a couple more things to share before we wrap up. So, Loretta, the last question here is for you. We've talked about a variety of different services and resources that housing counselors can assist with. What are some that perhaps we didn't dive deep into? Just like, what are a few resources or things that housing counselors do that most folks don't know you do?
So we can do everything, is what I'd like to say. Everything home ownership related. We're going to take them from rental all the way through affordable, sustainable home ownership. We work so closely with all of the nonprofits in the state of Washington that we know what resources are available. Sometimes there are down payment programs that lenders aren't even aware of, and how we work together to layer those programs. We provide credit counseling so that if somebody's trying to obtain a credit score or improve a credit score, budget management is huge. Just because you can afford to buy a home doesn't mean that your life isn't going to change. 30 years is a really long time. And people often need help with budgets each year of their home ownership journey. Death, divorce, and disability are the three drivers of why people go into default. And so we can help people understand how to divide property, how to complete an application where maybe they weren't the one who was on the loan originally. Post-purchase, a lot of times first-time home buyers will use multiple down payment assistance programs, and they're unable to understand the refinancing process because when they refinance, they have to pay all of those back. where right now they're only paying on the first mortgage. So there's a lot of additional services. We help people complete tax exemption paperwork. Everything, any question that's homeownership related, we'll find a resource and a way to answer that. And I do want to just add one more thing to what Lacey said earlier, especially for the realtors in our community. Sometimes they're the first call that somebody who's facing a mortgage default will make. They'll say, hey, I can't afford my house, I need to sell it. And really, they don't want to sell their house, but they don't know where to go. And the realtor's really confused and they're like, I don't want to ask all these personal questions. Being able to say, call the hotline. If, who knows, maybe you can save your house. If you can't, I'll be here and I'll be here to help you sell it. But that realtor will be the hero at the end of the day because they helped the homeowner in a difficult situation and they didn't have to give up their home to do it. And so I really find that the hotline is very beneficial for realtors that way.
Thank you so much. Ryan, if you could please share, there's like a slide with like 3 little ways to get involved. Thank you. Yep, that's the one. So please stay connected. I know we're just about at time, but I have seen in the chat folks interested in learning more. That's what we're here for. So a few ways that you can stay connected or get connected with us and with our network. One is we host events all the time, like this one and others, in person, virtually, all the things. We have an events page on our website. It is awesome. And what I like about it is we're featuring our events, but you can also feature yours. So like if you are a financial educator and you're doing a thing that is homeownership related, we do have to vet it. It goes through a little process, but we can share your events, right? So if you're doing a homeownership education workshop or something, we want to know about it so that we can share that. If you go to our events page, you can also see that we have one coming up on July 8th where I'll be doing another interview like this, and this time with Office of the Insurance Commissioner, the actual commissioner, Patty Cruderer, putting her in the hot seat July 8th to talk about all things homeowners insurance, what's trending, what folks are concerned about, how the Office of the Insurance Commissioner is working to address rising costs, non-renewal, all kinds of things happening right now that are really impacting that monthly payment for so many homeowners as that insurance premium goes up. Threats to, condo and other owners when they are non-renewed, what is happening with folks, adjacent to forest land or flood-prone areas. Bring your questions. We'd love to see you July 8th. It'll be kind of a lunch and learn format, virtual. You're all welcome to register for that and join us on Zoom that day. We will also be continuing to keep folks up to date via our newsletter. We don't spam you, but we do send a monthly newsletter as well as just kind of key updates like 2 to 3 times a month. So please go ahead and sign up. And then that way you can keep up with all things homeownership. And then our Slack community, making sure that folks can stay connected and have active conversations. Sometimes you're going to have a homeownership question that you can't answer, but there's someone who can, right? And being able to ask those questions in real time. I love the conversations I see in Slack because someone will ask and inevitably someone either knows the answer or is able to direct you to a resource. So with that, look at that. We're right at 11. Thank you so much. We didn't have as much time for questions, but I'm happy to stay on a few more minutes if folks would like.
I think Sandeep sums it up well in the chat. The wealth of information that we got during the last 60 minutes. I am just so grateful. For the sake of time, I'm going to say that if folks have questions, feel free to send them directly to Elizabeth, or if you want to filter them through me, I'm happy to connect with any of our 3 speakers. Much love and appreciation for Elizabeth, Lacey, and Loretta. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and expertise with us. Every time I dip my toes into the homeownership world, I'm blown away by how much everybody does, and y'all are superstars 10 times over. For everyone who is watching this on YouTube, feel free to reach out with questions, comments, and concerns with how the world has changed since we recorded this. For folks who are here live, you will get this recording and a follow-up email sometime before July 4th. hopefully, we capacity being what it is, we will move forward in as best as we can. Please take a minute and share your thoughts in the survey that was dropped in the chat. We use these survey responses to build future events like this. Please join us in Tequila in July 15th, and in September, come down to Tacoma for Bridges Over Barriers. There's Bridges Over Barriers, a Bank on Washington Economic Justice Forum. It is now 11:01. I've stolen 90 seconds more than I said that I would from everybody in the room. Much appreciated, much love. Go forth and be awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Fen.
Much love, everybody.